You are listening to the Workbench After Hours podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to the Second Amendment, where we talk about firearms, everything going on in the gun community, and we even try a different whiskey every week. Welcome to episode 117 of the Workbench After Hours podcast. This week, we're going to debunk some facts that aren't correct given by Jon Stewart in his talk show. And then we're also going to talk about the Surgeon General issuing a public health crisis in America over firearm violence. And then we're also going to talk about a new federal bill coming out regarding red flag laws. But before we get to that, sit back, relax, and Chris is going to talk about the whiskey of the week.
The whiskey of the week is Wilderness Trail. So this is a bottled in bond whiskey is what it says, and it's a sweet mash bill. So I don't know what the difference between a regular mash bill and sweet mash, because they don't say it. They just say it's a sweet mash, and they say it's the traditional mash bill.
Here's our mash bill right here if you want to do that.
Yeah, so it says that it's 24% wheat, 12% malted barley, and 64% corn. So they don't say on here why it's a sweet mash, though.
I don't know.
Do they use a different corn, maybe? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. So
yeah, they're the number 4 char barrel at 110 proof after coming off the still around 137 proof. And then they bring it down to the bottled and bond 100 proof or 50%. And then their whiskeys are aged and matured on their 168-acre campus inside one of the rick houses. They have more than 250,000 barrels aging on site.
I wonder if this is smart whiskey then, since it's on campus.
Right?
You know?
So with the, this is basically labeled as a small batch, and it's using 18 barrels per batch. So
I don't really consider that like a small batch, though.
Yeah, they haven't. Yeah, I guess both of their small batches they say are 18 barrels.
Huh.
Which, I mean, when you think about Jack Daniel's number 7, that was what?
They do like 33 to make their regular number 7. But I was under like the impression like a small batch is maybe like 1 or 2 barrels, like almost like a single barrel is how we consider it.
Yeah, it's different.
So
I mean, I think they just do it because small batch sounds cooler, I guess, you know. But yeah, I'm interested to see what this is like. I thought I got one. I had tried one of these with the black label. Okay. And I totally bought the wrong one. To try this one because that other one that is pretty much the same thing, only it's a high rye bourbon, so it's a black label instead of this yellow. It, I mean, it's pretty close to Blanton's almost. Not quite.
There's another one that I need to try to find. It's the James Bauman, I think. Mm-hmm. That's the same mash bill as Blanton's, what I've been told, but it's also an allocated bottle.
Right.
So that kind of stinks because they're like, oh, you can get it anywhere. And I was like, no, you can't.
Yeah, these I've seen. I grabbed the last one of these. It was like mid 40s, I think. Okay. So not too bad. So in that realm of.
I can smell the proof.
Yeah, but not as bad.
Yeah. I'm getting definitely like a real sweet honey type of smell off the nose. And you, of course, smell your charred oak.
Right. Maybe it getting like a little bit. Are you getting any of the little bit of chocolate?
No.
Yeah.
I'm mostly getting the proof. I don't know why. Like last week, we had a higher proof and we couldn't smell it. Right. This one, you can smell the proof almost.
Yeah. Yeah, that Booker's was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it tastes like a 100 proof.
Yeah.
Not too bad, though.
Yeah, you don't get the burn until the back end of it.
Right. So it's not complex, but you definitely get a lot of spice, kind of like a heavier spice.
Yeah, on the back end.
Yeah, and then some char. The finish, I would say, is probably about a medium finish. It's not a long finish.
Yeah, that back end's just spice. That's all I'm tasting on the back end.
Yeah, but it's not like a aggressive spice.
No, but it's just coating the back of my throat.
Yeah.
Like, usually it's the tongue it'll coat.
Well, throw it on the rocks and you'll get rid of that.
Yeah, I know.
But I think it's good.
It's different.
100 proof, always going to be a little bit stronger than a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But
I mean, but some other proofs are like, oh, it's a higher proof, but you can't taste it, smell it.
Right.
Because there's more flavor profile. So I don't know why they consider this a sweet mash. It doesn't have any like sweetness like our other ones we've had. Like the triple mash from Jack Daniel's it's got a ton of flavor.
Or like that toasted barrel of Elijah Craig we had last week.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
You could definitely taste the chocolate on that.
Yeah, that was so good.
Oh, yeah. I've pretty much almost drained that bottle.
I might go look for that bottle tomorrow.
So I definitely would recommend it. For
$40.
Yeah,
That's not
I think it was
bad.
like 45 or something like that. Maybe closer to 50,
This
depending
is a
on where
bottle
you're at.
and bond, right?
Yes.
So, how this bottle and bond should be a single barrel.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. If we go back, remember we talked about bottle and bond. It's one barrel and it's poured at a certain point. Because remember, Jack Daniel's got the triple bonded, and it's in 3 different barrels that are bonded.
So on their website, it just says, in addition, the bottled and bond gives you assurance that the bourbon was properly distilled, aged between 5 to 6 years, and bottled under supervision by the government at 100 proof.
But usually there's a single barrel is how they usually do the bottle and bond. And it's at and if they changed the other bottle, they'd say, okay, like Jack Daniel's is the triple bond. So it's been in 3 different bonded barrels. So I don't know. That's kind of weird.
Right.
I just thought about that. I was like, wait a second. A small batch, bottle and bond.
Not bad, though.
No, it's not bad.
This would almost be a one for beginners, too. Like, it's not too complex. I mean, yeah, there's spice on it, but it's not a heavy.
I think it'd be good on like an old fashioned.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, yeah, check that out. Wilderness Trail.
Yeah. It's a
Awesome.
Kentucky bourbon whiskey.
Yep. Awesome.
Every time I hear Kentucky now, all I think about this show you made me watch.
Which was that? Oh,
The Heist.
yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
So, yeah, I was, you get bored and you kind of scroll through Netflix and it recommends some shows based on what you previously watched. And there was this show called Heist. And it was a documentary series. I'm like, probably not something I'm interested in. My wife loves all those crime shows. I'm like, maybe that was meant for her. But then I clicked on it. And one of it's only like 4 different stories. It's a very short series. But one of them was about Poppygate.
Yeah.
Or Pappygate, sorry.
Pappygate.
Yeah, I guess there was a bunch of Pappy Van Winkle that got stolen.
From Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, from Buffalo Trace. And not only did they steal that, but...
Lots of other.
yeah, lots of other stuff. Buffalo Trace got stolen. Eagle Rare got stolen. And the guy that ended up getting... I guess, watch it. I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, it's
But it's
very
interesting.
interesting. Very interesting. And it, like, whoa. Like, I thought it was interesting at the end. Like, oh, people actually return the bottles. I was like, so what'd they do with those bottles then?
Right? I
Especially
would have
since you
returned
can't, yeah, especially Pappy. You can't find Pappy anywhere,
No.
let alone Blanton's Eagle Rare.
Well, and I think the problem is with that whole Pappygate, because there was a lot of media coverage with that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that just made it even harder to get because people are like, oh, well, I kind of want to.
Let's try this whiskey. If it's so good, people are stealing it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so that made it even harder to get,
yeah.
especially the 20-year plus of the Pappy.
That was funny, though. Like, at the beginning, how he's just like, oh, this is just my favorite bottle. He's just drinking Pappy.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's a $50 bottle. He gave the guy 2 bottles. Like, what? Give me 2 bottles.
Yeah, so check it out. It's called Heist on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's it's called like The King of Bourbon or something
Yeah.
like that.
It was very good. Just those 2 episodes.
Yeah, I didn't know about it, but yeah, there was a whole lot of media coverage over that, so it's pretty cool. And then watching that made me want to work at Buffalo Trace. I'm like, that looks like a cool job.
Yeah.
Like they give you a bottle every now and then, and it'd just be cool to be around.
It's like
all
Jack
of that,
Daniels. They give it on the last Friday of every month, and they call it Good Friday.
right?
I was like, man, I could get down with that.
Yeah. Well, and that is a dry county where I don't think.
Yeah, Frankfurt's not.
Yeah. So there's a ton of different distilleries there. The biggest ones are Buffalo Trace.
Wild Turkey, Woodford Reserve are like the biggest in
Yeah.
that area.
They were, yeah. And also, instead of just Buffalo Trace stuff being stolen, barrels of Wild Turkey
Yeah.
were being stolen.
I was like, dang, and they didn't even know. That's the crazy part.
right.
I was like, how do you not know you're missing? Like, they must not have good auditors.
I don't know. Yeah. How do you not know? And then, again, with the Pappy stuff being stolen, and if you did that today, there's cameras everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
That can't happen today. I don't know if maybe...
I bet
It's not
that
like this
changed
was a
lot, I
long
think.
time ago. It was in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s.
Yeah. I was floored that there was no cameras.
Right. You'd think there would be some
Yeah.
cameras in there. I'm sure there are
Now.
now for sure.
Yep.
Locked up and secure, and
Everything's documented.
Thanks.
What's what.
thanks to those guys. But
Yeah, it was crazy.
Interesting story. Happy Gate. Pretty cool. So, what do you want to talk about first, Chris?
I don't know. There's a lot to talk about.
There is. I gave you an assignment.
Yep. And I watched that video.
Okay. So, before Chris explains it, I have a video to watch for you guys to watch or hear or whatever, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
So here it is.
For the first time in the history of our office, I am issuing a Surgeon General's advisory on firearm violence. It outlines the urgent threat firearm violence poses to the health and well-being of our country. Many of these harms are disproportionately felt in our communities. Black individuals endure the highest rates of firearm homicides, while suicide rates are highest among veterans, older white individuals. Nearly 6 in 10 U.S. adults say they worry about a loved one being a victim of firearm violence. Our children should not have to live in fear that they are going to get shot if they go to school. None of us should have to worry that going to the mall or a concert or a house of worship means putting our lives at risk. The Surgeon General's advisory lays out the approach we can take to address firearm violence as the public health crisis that it is. This includes implementing community violence prevention programs and firearm risk reduction strategies, improving access to mental health care for those exposed to or at risk for firearm violence, and expanding research funding to inform and evaluate our prevention strategies. Firearm violence is a public health crisis. Our failure to address it is a moral crisis. To protect the health and well-being of Americans, we must now act with the clarity, courage, and urgency that this moment demands.
So that wasn't the whole speech, but the other parts that I cut out are some stuff we're going to go over, but it was basically statistics and everything. But
That were kind of skewed.
yeah. So the thing is, do you think that this is going to cause, now that this is out from the Surgeon General, is this going to cause more federal bills to be brought up as far as like gun control?
I think not. I think this is more brainwashing.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of brainwashing comes into fear.
No.
Like, if you have a fear of something, they can brainwash you to have you in their corner and going after your fear. Thing I don't like is that you talk about the veterans. Well, veterans, that's not really, their gun violence isn't always related to a suicide. Like, people hang themselves, people choke themselves to death, they cut themselves. So I don't know. And a lot of those places he was mentioning, like schools and places of worship, are gun-free zones.
Right.
So that's what the government put into place. So you are part of the problem because you put those into place. You made it a target.
Yeah.
And if people want to cause harm, they're going to go find the easiest target. We've talked about this over and over and over again. So but I think the main thing, if they're wanting to talk about kids and gun violence, I think that goes back to the parents a little bit. Parents have got to take some responsibilities on locking up their guns properly and not just having them out loaded, chambered. Like, you got little kids running around. Every little kid's always wanting to find something they can pull and bang and throw. So what's a gun do? You got a trigger. So I think a lot of it comes down to parents need to be more vigilant on what they're doing with their firearms and where they store it, and making sure their kids don't know combos, locking them up.
Mm-hmm. And here's the statistic, I'll post it on the screen here, that they're always going to, because it sounds scary. Firearms are the leading cause of death for children and adolescents. And it has this graph here showing all this stuff. But the main point here is when usually they say for children, they leave out the adolescence parts. But when they say for children, they're still doing the 1 to 19 years of age.
Yeah, I heard someone else talk about that. I think if it's 18 or older, they're an adult. They're being tried as an adult at that point. You can go serve your country at 18. You're an adult. Anything underneath that, yes, you're a child or a teenager. So, they're some guys they got 16, 17, and 18-year-olds and all in that. Well, 17 and under, yeah, I agree. They're not adults yet. They're not legally an adult. They can't be tried as an adult unless they really want to try. So I think 18 and up is an adult. That's how I look at it.
When you see in this graph here that it spikes around 2020, around 2019 to 2020.
During pandemic.
Spikes. And a lot of that, on the news, you see kids with guns and shootouts and stuff. A lot of it is gang related.
It is.
Or it's adolescents having issues with other adolescents, and then they end up, shooting each other.
Yeah. A lot of it.
And unfortunately, they fall within this age group, and that drives that statistic up. When, yes, that might be true as far as the numbers of gun deaths right there for that age group, but what's the actual cause of this? Is it the, I think a lot of this is either crime related or disputes between teenagers.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
different
look at
groups.
what people most of these days play. Call of Duty. What's the easiest thing to do? Shoot someone, kill them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go back to the old days. Like, they don't value life like they used to, is the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Like, before you were taught firearm safety in a school. Can't do it now. I mean, shoot, they teach it at Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts. They teach that. So...
Yeah, and they throw out another thing that 54% of U.S. adults report that either they or a family member have experienced a firearm-related incident.
That just tells me that they don't know how to properly handle a firearm or hasn't been trained.
So 21% have been threatened with a firearm. 19% have a family member who has been killed by a firearm, including suicide. 17% have witnessed someone being shot. 4% have shot a firearm in self-defense, and 4% have been injured by a firearm.
Man, I don't know. Because witnessing someone being shot, like, you go turn on TV and watch that.
Right.
I mean...
Yeah. And again, what are the circumstances?
Yeah,
here?
that's the thing.
You got to take that into consideration. Like in Chicago, yeah, I'm sure you see these. I'm sure you see people
all the time.
Yeah, you probably see this all the time. And then they're gonna skew these numbers, and
yeah, they're gonna skew them to put fear into you so they can get what they want.
Yeah, and then they throw out some rate of firearm-related suicide increased by 20% across the population, with the highest increase among younger people. And according to their graph, 10 to 14-year-olds, 68% up. 15 to 24, an increase of 45%, and then 25 to 34, an increase of 43%.
It's crazy.
Well, guess
I think
what?
a lot of it's
social media.
Yeah, social media, and then you isolated us during the pandemic to be away from people. That's not good.
Yeah,
you got to have some type of social life and talk to people. If you can't talk to people, guess what? You're going to start going down that rabbit hole. Once you're down that rabbit hole, it's very dark.
Yes. And you hear all these stories of teenagers or young adults that are committing suicide from being bullied on. Not only are they being bullied at school, but
at
now
home on social media.
Yeah, because when it used to be before social media, you come home, you're away from it. But now you come home and you're on social media getting bullied then. So you're getting bullied 24/7. A lot of people can't take that. And, I get it. It's tough. I was bullied as a kid. Can't imagine being in today's world. And that's why you're seeing an increase in this. It's because of social media, and people are like keyboard warriors, like everything, even videos that I post on, any of my 3 channels, you have the people that are just gonna be dicks.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude,
I think a lot of people need to learn to let it one ear out the other.
Yeah.
And not let it get to them, which is hard to do as an individual. I get it. It's really hard. But sometimes you just got to say, fuck them, and let it go. Like, just let it go. It's not affecting you. It's just words. Words hurt, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. And they got some more statistics on there, but my worry here is they're going to start pushing this more and more, and having the anti-gun groups get behind this and being like, all right, this is a huge health issue. We need to ban all these guns. Red flag laws are going to be pushed more.
I think I would like to see, like with the younger kids, how many was it due to like a gun not being properly stored or stowed, Mm-hmm. Because I guarantee a lot of it's that.
Yeah, here's let me lower this here and I'll post it on the screen here. But here's another statistic of unintentional firearm deaths among children and adolescents 0 to 17 years of age from 2003 to 21. 74% of the firearms used were stored loaded. 76% of the firearms used were stored unlocked. And 56 of unintentional firearm deaths among children and adolescents happened in their own home. So when stored and unlocked, the firearms were most commonly accessed from either inside or on top of a nightstand, on a bed, under a pillow, or under a mattress. Now, when you think of, self-defense has gone up, like people thinking of self-defense and wanting to have a gun at home because, everything that happened during COVID and stuff. So more people are owning guns in self-defense because you can't rely on the police and government. So unfortunately, this is a common area for people to have guns.
Yeah.
I have one in my bedroom, but we don't have kids.
Yeah.
So
Like
I don't feel the
me,
need
I've
to
got
lock it up.
mine locked up.
Yes.
It's in a nightstand, but it's locked. It's not chambered because I know my boys don't have the strength to even rack around. So I do know that.
Yeah.
And I try to test that like every year so as I get older just to make sure. But I think also too you need to start like teaching kids like, hey, do not touch that. That's bad. Kind of like them going to a light socket, trying to put stuff in it. Hey, don't do that. You get in trouble, you get hurt. You need to do that same thing with firearms. So you need to be training your kids and being vigilant about what you're doing with your firearm. I actually saw a commercial over the weekend on actual regular cable, not cable TV, but antenna TV. For a lot of those people that don't know what it is, go look it up. But there was actually a commercial, and the dad comes home, puts the gun in the drawer, loaded up, and he goes like, "Oh, my daughter got a hold of it, shot mom by accident. Oh, shot her by accident." And he's like, "Oh man!" And then, so he then goes and puts it in his safe, and he still left it loaded, chambered. Kid knew what the safe was, and then committed suicide. So I was like, you gotta, as a parent, that'd probably be the worst call ever. But if you store your stuff right and make sure your kids don't know things, like your combination to your safe, like it might suck that you might have to change it more often or get rid of the combination, go back to the key, and then hide the key.
And just teaching your kids about guns and gun safety early on.
Yeah.
So that way when, a lot of kids that see that and be like, oh, a gun, something I see on TV, I know nothing about it, how to handle it safely. Be like, hey, this is something you do not touch.
Yep.
And all that stuff. And depending on the age of the kid too, once they get old enough, you can start teaching them how to shoot, but then really hammer in how to safely.
Yeah, like my son right now, he's been doing a lot of BB gun shooting with scouts and everything. And I had my gun out a couple of times. He's like, "Can I see that?" I was like, "Yeah, but you're going to follow these rules. Mm-hmm. Never put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot. Never point it at someone.
Or anything you're not willing to shoot.
Yeah, or something you're not willing to shoot." I was like, those are the most important things. I was
and it's consider it always loaded.
Yeah. And I was like,
always.
If I hand this to you, just think it's loaded. Don't put your finger on the trigger. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Well, what do you do?" So I showed him like how to keep it off the trigger and hold it that way. I was like, the only time you're ready to shoot is when you're aiming at a target. I was like, that's the only time I should ever see your finger on that trigger is if you're aiming at a target, getting ready to fire at that target. I think that's what a lot of parents need to start doing, especially if you own a firearm. Mm-hmm. Start getting them younger and like, hey, this is bad. Do not touch it. This will hurt you or someone. And like really make them understand like it's just like a light socket. Don't put stuff in it. You'll get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that, but it's just another
thing I don't like is they skew the numbers for their favor.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Obviously, because they did 1 to 19. Why is it 1 to 19? They're not considered a child.
And then the left is going to take that
Yeah.
and run with it and be like, oh,
and
our kids are the number one cause of our kids' death is firearms. Well, you're considering kids
1 to 19.
that would be technically adults here.
Yeah.
And like we've discussed, like a lot of the, 18, 19, maybe even 16, down to 16. I mean, they're
that. And where do they do this study at?
Yeah.
They didn't go to every state and do this study like they were saying they did. They probably did it in the most populated places like Chicago, LA, New York.
Right.
Stuff where gun violence is really high. And that's where they probably got most of the responses.
Wait until our next thing that kind of goes into that. But,
Oh, great.
Yeah. So that's anything else that you took away from that?
Yeah. I don't believe it. Don't believe it. They were trying to instill fear for brainwashing purposes.
Yep.
You got to understand that.
Oh, and this came out at the perfect time.
Yeah, right.
Tonight is Thursday. We're recording this on Thursday. And guess what tonight is?
The freaking election debates.
Yes, the first one. So, of course, this came out right before an election.
Yeah.
Of course.
They're going to try to push their agenda.
Yeah.
Instill fear, push our agenda so we can get reelected.
Mm-hmm.
That's their whole goal. That's how brainwashing works.
Yep. And, so the federal government is going to take this and run, and so are the anti-gun groups. But another thing that recently came out, if you're not aware, this probably won't pass, but we'll see what happens. The H.R. 3018 Federal Extreme Risk Protection Order Act of 2023 has just been introduced. It is a bill that authorizes and establishes procedures for federal courts to issue federal extreme risk protection orders, red flag laws.
Yeah.
And additionally, the bill establishes grants to support the implementation of extreme risk protection order laws that at the state and local levels, and extends firearms restrictions to individuals who are subject to the extreme protection orders, and expands related data collection. So basically, it has to do with the red flag laws that we've talked about, that some states have already implemented this, but this is going to the federal level. Yeah, so extreme risk protection order laws, or red flag laws, commonly known as, allow certain individuals to petition a court for temporary order that prohibits an at-risk individual from purchasing and possessing firearms. There's a huge problem with this because you have no idea somebody has reported you as a red flag.
I would think if they're petitioning it to the court, you'd have to be there.
Yeah, not initially.
Well,
What
how would
happens
you
is-
know then?
Exactly, you don't. Somebody reports you that you meet the criteria of a red flag and you're a risk, and then you don't find out until law enforcement's knocking on your door to come and take your guns. And they're going to take your guns, and you don't get them back until you can prove that you're not.
See that? There's a problem with that.
Yeah. So among this bill, among the provisions, the bill authorizes a family or household member or law enforcement officer to petition for a federal extreme risk protection order with respect to an individual who possesses a risk to themselves or others. Very vague there.
Yeah.
Directs the Department of Justice to establish a grant program to help states, local governments, and other entities implement extreme risk protection order laws, and extends federal restrictions on the receipt, possession, shipment, transportation of firearms and ammunition to individuals who are subject to these protection orders, and requires the FBI to compile records from federal, tribal, state courts, and other agencies that identify individuals who are subject to these extreme risk protection orders.
They need to identify what extreme is.
We've talked about this on some of the states
Yeah.
that already implemented this. It's
It's a gray
different
area.
per state, but the big picture here is anybody can report this,
Yeah.
depending on the state, but at a federal level, this might change too. And you have no idea. Like if you piss off your neighbor down the street, or if you guys get in an argument for whatever reason, but they have guns, you'd be like, oh, hey, I'm scared we got in an argument because he painted a house royal blue and I don't like that color. I know he has guns and I voiced my opinion. We got in an argument. I feel like he's a threat. Or, now you see a lot of road rage. And there's just so many instances where this can hurt a lot of the people that, it doesn't really.
It's dumb.
Yeah. Say you have an ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife or somebody that didn't like guns, but you were into guns.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, oh, well, he's a huge threat because they got divorced. That's a huge thing. But again, the big thing is you don't know that somebody is flagging you under this until law enforcement shows up to take your guns.
I don't agree with that because
I remember there was an article.
Yeah, we got a court system.
Yeah.
Innocent until proven guilty. So you would have to prove, how do you prove that? You'd have to go to court and prove that.
Yeah, you have to prove that you're not a risk. And then at that point, once they determine you're not at risk, you get your guns back and the ability to purchase guns again. But once you're flagged under this red flag law, basically,
I think
they come take your guns.
I
And
think
you have
it's
no
dumb.
idea.
I think it's the dumbest.
It is. You don't get notified, but hey, somebody, state your case before.
At that
And
point,
that's
it should be like issuing a warrant to you. At least you should have that.
right.
You got a warrant for your guns. Is how they should do it if they're going to do it like this. So then you're aware, and then you can start to prepare. Because being blindsided by this, that's crazy. And then if you're a person like most people are, you're going to be pissed off. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to retaliate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know they got guns, you're going to turn around and do it right back to them.
Several podcasts ago, we talked about a story on a state that has red flag laws, and the law enforcement went to this guy to take his guns, and he's like, nope.
Yep.
And he ended up dead
Yeah.
because he refused to give up his guns. And if this becomes a federal thing,
At
you're
that
going to
point-
start seeing that a lot more.
At that point, if it wasn't someone in your household that reported you, I would turn around and then sue the police department because that can be considered a police suicide.
Yeah.
And then you can sue the person that issued it because now you just got my loved one killed.
Yeah. These
You know?
Yeah.
Like that's going to open up a whole other door that they probably do not want to go down.
the way things are right now, I don't see this passing, but
You never know.
you never know. And of course, this isn't going to be the first time. This isn't going to be the last time we see this if it doesn't.
No.
It's going to keep coming up, especially after the whole Surgeon General thing.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah. So just be aware of that. Again, I think it won't pass, but, you know.
I think the Surgeon General's at risk.
Yeah, he is.
He is. He could cause harm to someone. He could piss him off on the wrong day and cause harm.
Yeah. There's a lot of things to consider on this. I mean, I get it. There's, some people that if you're really suffering in depression, should you own a gun at that point? Probably not.
At that point,
But-
medical should also be reporting risk. Remember,
Right.
we did a whole thing on this, like medical needs to be reporting them that they're at risk and that they're not allowed. But majority of the time they don't.
Right.
Same thing with the police. The police are supposed to report things and then they don't. It's reported in like a report, but nothing goes on. They don't go that extra step or two to prevent them from actually obtaining these. Just like these school shootings, they know it was a known problem. They didn't do anything to stop that next step to say, hey, this person's not allowed, put them on the list. They just stopped it with their report. And if they would have actually went that extra step, that person could have never got a gun, or they would have had to go to the black market that way. And that might not have even happened. Who knows? We won't know.
Right. Exactly.
So people not doing their job in the first part to the fullest gets people killed too.
Chris, you're scaring me. I'm going to report you. I don't think you should own a gun.
Oh, good luck with that.
All right.
There's also knives. Knives are just as dangerous.
I mean, what happens if they come and, like us, we have our guns locked in a safe that is not easily movable?
I don't remember what my combination is. I got what is that? Can't remember shit.
Yeah, I have
CRS.
I have a Joe Biden memory.
Yeah.
But there was an instance where, was it Liberty Safe or some safe company actually?
Had to give them the default.
Yeah, and allowed them to open
At
up
that
the
point,
safe.
what you do is they're knocking on the door. Yeah, hold on a second. Go down there and rip.
You think they would take you to jail? Like if you
I'm sure
refuse,
they'd have to.
like if you have your safe bolted to the ground, you're not letting them get in,
If they have to have a search warrant to come in.
and that's the.
And if they don't have a search warrant, kick rocks.
I think it's a little different under this red flag thing.
I
though.
don't, because you still have to have a search warrant to come in.
Yeah, and they're gonna
And
come.
if they don't present you a search warrant, go kick rocks. Now you're violating my constitutional
Right, but
amendments.
I don't think that's how these red flag things. I think
Oh, that's
once they
how it
come,
works.
you have to give us and say maybe they do have a search warrant with these red flag laws. Say they do have one, like, hey, we
Have
are
fun.
here. This is our piece of paper saying we could come take your guns because you're a threat for whatever reason.
The only
And then
threat
you say no,
the only thing I'm gonna say is the only threat I see is you being on my property.
right? And then it escalates and ends up with somebody getting harmed. But they're probably going to arrest you.
Okay.
But then
I can't remember my combination. Good luck.
I know what happens then.
I'd
say it's-
rip off my digital thing at that point. I don't have the key. And if you break my safe or anything like that, you're reliable for damages. Because I also have important documents in there that can't be replaced.
Yeah.
Because if they break in, like trying to cut it open, and they cause damage. Let's say your marriage certificate's in there, your social. You could have potentially just caused damage. Now I don't have an identity. You took everything.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways this could go bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of what ifs out
Just
there.
remember, if they do not have a search warrant, they cannot come into your property.
Right.
Simple as that. Don't have a search warrant? Go kick rocks. Bye. Close the door.
But in that one instance, I mean,
Doesn't matter. At that point, then they're breaking the Constitution and your amendments. It's unconstitutional. And then you just sue the living crap out of that police department or that city and take everything they got.
maybe immediately call a lawyer.
Well, that too, but they got to have a search. You can't just search and seize.
You know how we've talked about right to bear arms or right to bear and their services that they offer. Basically, if you conceal carry a gun and you're involved in a self-defense shooting, they help defend you. In the description below, there's 10% off in case you guys are interested, because if you do carry, you probably should have that. Or even if you have a gun in your house for the potential self-protection, you want to have that insurance. But the thing is, they give you access to lawyers.
Yeah.
Do you? I wonder if
They would have to.
those
at that
lawyers
point.
could help you in that instance.
I bet they can.
Because obviously that's not a shooting, but
But they're also
it's still gun related.
Yeah, they're also breaking in an entry at that point
You know,
unlawfully.
we should talk to them about that and see if we can.
I bet we could probably get them back on.
Yeah.
Because that'd be an interesting question to ask.
Yeah.
Because that'd be interesting.
Like, I know you
It'd be
guys-
worth it just for that.
I know you gear towards like self defense situations, but like with these red flag laws,
I'd say they'd break in.
what
and
would
try to
your
take everything.
lawyers or attorneys help out with,
Yeah.
if anything?
That'd be a good question
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's something to watch. Keep an eye on. Probably not going to pass now, but that's not to say that. Of course, you never know.
Yep, it is
Never
a
know.
government.
Yeah, it is,
Depends
it
on
is.
who's in.
Yes. So you know what I really, really hate?
Celebrities pushing the power.
Yeah.
The balls of these right-wing motherfuckers talking about how there's too much gun crime and chaos in our democratic cities.
You know, I miss the days of late night talk shows and all that. I miss Jay Leno. Let me say that. I
Leno was the
miss the
shit.
days of him and David Letterman. And basically, you make fun of both sides. You make fun of everything. You don't make it political.
Yeah,
It's a great,
it's a fun comedy time.
yes. That's all gone away. Jimmy Fallon, you know, he's still on. Most of them they're all on the left side, really. But the two I hate the most and cannot stand, Stephen Colbert, which we've talked about, and Jon Stewart, which we've also talked about. They go on their shows and go on these rants, and they are obviously anti-Republican. They are so far left, it's ridiculous. And we've done we did one episode where Jon Stewart interviewed, I cannot remember who it was, but then he basically tried to have a sit-down argument with somebody that was pro-gun, and he just would not let that guy talk.
Yep.
Like, he kept getting angry and spitting out these things, and this guy's like trying to explain his side.
Yeah, and he couldn't even get anything out because
No.
he kept getting interrupted. Wah!
And what sucks is because they're celebrities, they're on these late night shows,
They think they're untouchable.
and they're on YouTube now, and you get these clips and everything.
Now, all of this, by the way, is not to say that gun crime does not exist. Of course it does. And some cities are worse than others. But here's the thing.
They get their point across, and a lot of people that like these guys or look up to these guys are going to hear them talk about their political views and views on firearms, and they're going to be like, all right, yeah. Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert say guns are bad.
When Republicans are the ones who've enabled the flood of illegal weaponry into our cities in the first place.
Well, then maybe they are bad. Maybe they are a huge problem. And that's a huge problem because it's skewing everybody's views who don't know better. And it's just ridiculous.
93% of the illegal guns used in crimes in New York City aren't from here. They, like theater majors, have come here to make a name for themselves. The guns come from states like Florida and Georgia and South Carolina, where the gun laws are lax.
I want to kick
Balls on that motherfucker.
I want to kick that guy in the balls. Fuck Jon Stewart. Fuck you, Jon Stewart.
Hey, Jon Stewart, let's talk about illegals
Oh my
and
god.
border control. A lot of that shit's happening in your fucking states, where the Democrats are that supposedly have the strictest gun laws in the U.S. and you still have the fucking violence. It tells you right there it doesn't fucking work.
So a lot to unpack there, and
And try as we might to put up some border controls to stem this invasion, this flood of literally undocumented weapons, Republicans fight every attempt to bring some kind of order.
oh my god, he thinks he's right on everything. Like, he thinks.
You know what? I like my guns
We're
like
the
they like
problem.
their illegal immigrants, undocumented.
So first of all, that stat that he threw up there that you can't sue the gun manufacturers, like we're making it to where you can't sue the gun manufacturers. You still can. You just can't sue them for one of their guns being used in a crime, because it's also like suing Toyota because
It's
a
like
drunk
me suing
driver.
him because of the way he talks.
Exactly. So you could still sue a gun manufacturer. You just can't sue them because that gun was used in a crime, similar to somebody killing somebody in a DUI accident. You can't go back and sue Toyota for that.
and even passed laws to increase the chaos. Look at all the laws and things that they've done. In 2005, they passed a law that effectively protects gun dealers and the gun manufacturers from being held liable for where their guns end up. Just recently, they made sure that they can turn those guns into machine guns with bump stocks. They make it impossible to study the effects of guns. They make it impossible to track the illegal guns.
Oh, my God. And then the whole bump stock thing. All right, first of all,
It doesn't turn into a machine gun.
was it last podcast?
Yep.
We just went over the Supreme Court ruled, and they have a whole document outlining why that does not meet the definition of a machine gun.
Machine gun. This is easy. Ready? Brrrr. All right, that was a machine gun.
Right?
This is semiotic.
Yep. Yeah, so
Simple.
we argued that last week, so we don't need to go over that. But the fact that obviously he didn't read the Supreme Court ruling because anybody like, okay, yeah, this doesn't meet the definition.
He's
of
a
fire.
dumb fuck and doesn't pay attention to anything.
Oh, but what sucks is, I mean, a lot of people listen to this guy, and that's what they hear, and that's what they're gonna think.
You know what really pisses me off about that? Because of a video I just saw.
Other than the whole video.
Well, besides that, I saw another video, all right, of a soldier. You remember the time they were backing everybody out? Leave all your shit behind?
Right?
You know what they're trying to do to these sailors, or not sailors, but servicemen and women that had stuff over there? And they said, just leave it. Don't worry about it. They're trying to charge them now for it.
So when they pulled out of Afghanistan,
Yeah.
you're talking about? So were they...
They're trying to charge them for what gear they left behind when they told them to leave it.
Get bent.
Yeah.
Like military gear or
Yeah.
personal gear?
Military gear.
Yeah. Yeah, because they realized they screwed up and gave...
Billions of dollars away.
Yeah.
Let's talk about gun control. Your fucking Democratic president gave away billions of dollars in weapons
Yeah.
to terrorists that are probably coming back over illegally through the border, since you guys don't want to have border control, and they're infiltrating America right now so they can have another terrorist attack. You dumb idiot. Pay attention. A lot of them are in New York, where all your theater majors are.
Why would they do this? It's almost as though Republicans must have a secret plan for this, funded by their billionaires, to flood our cities with illegal, undocumented guns in the hopes of killing off reliable Democratic voters. The great displacement theory.
So he argues that we argue that there's a lot of crime in these Democratic cities. Well, guess what? It's not because of guns. The problem is New York has the strictest gun control laws. So what are criminals going to do? Because they cannot legally buy a gun in New York, they're going to go buy it somewhere else illegally.
Also, since we're on the whole Democratic bullshit, with the strictest gun laws, like, didn't they try to defund the police?
And that's the whole problem.
Interesting. You
Yeah.
defund the police so they can't provide the
And guess
security and the
what-
protection you need.
Guess what cities did that, Chris?
All the major Democratic-run cities.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's not that...
So you're telling me if we take away the police, the crime goes up, but the places that have police, crime's low? Interesting.
Yeah, so they have a lot of strict gun control so the law-abiding citizens can't defend themselves. Criminals don't listen to gun laws or whatever, so they're going to get the guns no matter what. So those people can't, the good people can't defend themselves properly, and then you're allowing crime because, like we said, in California, a lot of the cities out there are reducing felonies and all this stuff. So people are like, screw it. Like, I'm not going to get in trouble for doing all this stuff. And it is in the cities that are Democratic because you guys lax the laws on criminals. So guess what? Crime's going to go up.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with the guns that he's talking about. It's criminals are going to do crime no matter what. They're going to get a gun no matter what. Yeah, 'cause you can't. It's really hard to go get a gun in New York. So the criminals are going to go find a gun another way and bring it in.
Yeah. But you defund the police and they can't go and track those people down. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking idiots on talk shows and using their position for power. Get bent.
Yeah, and that's not obviously the first time he's done that or talked about it. Before that clip that I edited out just because of time, he was making fun of Donald Trump and the way he made the sound of a gun. He goes, he basically made it sound like as if you were hitting a metal target, like
Ding, ding, ding.
yeah, ding, ding, donk, donk. And if you're thinking about it, that's really what it sounds like when you're hitting a middle target. It's
Yeah.
like that. And he went on and said that, which whatever, making
What
fun
is
of
it
Donald
supposed to
Trump.
sound like? Fucking Biden falling
Right.
down the stairs?
Which I mean, you want to make fun of that, whatever, that's
Yeah.
fine. But to be fair, that is what it sounds like when you're hitting a middle target.
You know what I want to see? Him and Joe Rogan. And I want to see if he tries to interrupt Joe Rogan.
Oh, he will for sure.
I wonder if Joe Rogan would put up with it, though.
I wonder if he's been on the podcast.
I don't know. I want to go back and find out.
If so, I need to look at that. I don't.
Because I don't think he has.
And if they do, I'm sure they don't talk about guns because
Nope. Joe Rogan would fucking tear him up.
right. I mean, I'm sure there's some things that they would agree on, but
Yeah.
of course.
I don't think he has.
But he tried to go on. He tried to have a debate with a pro-gun guy, and he wouldn't let him get a word in. And
That's how the Democrats are.
he gets. It's like, dude, he used to be a comedian. He was in Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Was Adam Sandler. Used to be an actor, and now he's so anti-gun. And it's like, dude, shut the hell
I'm
up.
so tired of celebrities using their popularity to sway votes.
Yeah.
I am so sick of it.
It's like, okay, you want to stop the gun violence in New York City.
What are you doing to stop it?
Guess what?
He needs to do something. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. You've got money. You've got power. Do something about it instead of talking about it. If you're going to talk about it, be about
You
it.
already got the strictest gun laws, so that's not going to change anything. It's the fact that you have.
Why don't you
there's a-
donate half your salary to a fucking police and bring up that and see what happens?
Yeah. You know how many gangs there are in New York City?
Oh, there's a shit ton.
Yeah. And then, he was making fun of Trump because he was saying that, there's all this crime in New York. Well, yeah, there is a bunch of crime in New York City, you dummy. It's because of the laws that you guys are passing to
I would love to see him
be
go
lenient on
see
criminals.
Jon Stewart in like a wartime. He'd be crying like a little bitch underneath a pillow hiding somewhere.
Yeah.
I hate people like that. They could dock all this big game, but when shit hits the fan, they're probably over there crying like a little baby. I'm scared. I'm terrified. I don't know what to do.
Stephen Colbert is the same way. He is
Jesus.
so, at least, I'll give it to Jon Stewart. He was making fun of both Biden and Trump, but Stephen Colbert is just,
Yeah.
whoa, all left. Like, it is.
They've instilled fear, and they've now got him brainwashed. That's how a lot of this stuff happens.
Yeah. It's like, dude, all those gun laws that he was pointing out, like, oh, look at all these things. Like, no. No, that's not the cause.
The cause is crime, and you're not doing anything to stop crime.
Yeah. You guys have lax laws on criminals. And
Yeah.
guess what? You lax laws on criminal stuff. Oh, well, they don't think it's a big deal. They're going to go.
Let's go back to the old days. An eye for an eye. You kill someone, allow that family to go kill them.
Yeah.
That's how I think.
Or
we
you
should
steal
almost go
something, guess what?
at it. Your hand gets chopped off.
You're losing your 5-finger discount.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. God, I really hate that guy.
Yeah. He needs to go suck on a bag of Twinkies or something.
Right?
Oh, that pissed me off.
So, yeah, there's that. Any other remarks as far as that goes on what he said? There was so much he said. It's hard to remember.
He needs to go get bent. The whole leftists need to grow a pair of balls and actually do something instead of talk shit.
And they're always like, oh, well,
Let's talk about the left then. Inflation's at an all-time rate high. Good luck getting a house right now,
yeah.
let alone interest rates. Let's talk about gas prices. Keep going up. Let's talk about our border security. How many illegals are coming in?
And wasn't New York
Undocumented.
City a sanctuary city?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. They have all these immigrants coming in that they have no idea where they're from, what their agenda is. Some of them are probably just trying to escape from where they were, but then you got other ones that are,
It's kind of crazy. If you sit there and watch what's coming across the border right now, it's middle-aged men, not families, middle-aged men. Why would middle-aged men be trying to infiltrate America? Do we want to go down that rabbit hole?
All I know is I'm glad in the Midwest here, we're allowed to have guns.
Yep.
You can take over these two coasts, whatever, but we're going to defend the Midwest, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Goodbye, Northwest, Northeast. Goodbye, whole West Coast.
Yeah.
Texas is iffy.
I
But
don't
I think
think
you got
so.
a lot of pro guns there still. You got a lot of the good old boys there that would still
Yeah.
put the And I just really like the city of Austin. I mean, most of Texas is still.
Have you seen that one guy's like, if we went to war, what do you provide? Have you seen that? Like, so this guy asked people, he's like, we go to war right now. What can you provide? And one guy's like, well, I know how to shoot. I've been shooting my entire life. I know how to live off the land if I need to. I know how to survive off the land. I know how to hunt. And they're like, okay. And this one guy's like, well, I got good leadership skills. I'm good with computers. Okay, what's that going to do for fucking war?
Honestly, I think being good at computers would be a little
Maybe
more
for
beneficial.
cyber attacks, but
Well, because
if it was feet on the ground, that ain't going to do shit.
Yeah. But the next World War III is not going to be feet on the ground. It's going to be what's
You're always
happening now.
you're always gonna have feet on the ground, no matter what.
Right. But you're going to have more, like,
You're gonna have to be trying to prevent.
a lot of it's drones. And
It is.
Drones are just these kids sitting in a box.
Yeah, but if you get feet on the ground and go take over where they're at, you just turn it over.
Yeah. You still need feet on the ground. But I think today's day and age, the computer skills does help more.
Somewhat, as long as they know how to like.
Unless they
actually
take out our
hack.
grid, then we're
Yeah.
then we're screwed.
I don't know. I don't.
But
Oh man, that'd be
yeah,
great.
I mean both are important
Yeah,
to have.
but like, I got leadership skills.
I mean,
Okay.
drones are being used in attacks in Ukraine right now and
Yeah.
everywhere. So it's like you got to have some sort of.
Yeah, but I don't know. But it's just funny. Like listening is like a lot of people. Oh, I was in the military. I've served. This guy, I've lived off the land. I can live off the land. I've done it before.
How is that going to help you in war, though?
What, living off the land? Because you know how to survive with bare minimum.
Okay.
You know how to get shelter if you need to. So if you're like over, let's say you're over in the Middle East or whatnot, or Russia, and you need to survive and you have no shelter, you know how to make your own shelter, survive off that.
Depending, because if, say, he's from Texas and knows how to survive in Texas,
Here's the thing.
climate in Russia is completely different.
Here's the thing, though. A lot of people don't know the military has survival schools, and they send you. So they have like cold weather survival. So they'll send you way up north, and they'll drop you off, and you got to find your way back and survive. They also have it for hot climates.
Did you do any of that?
No, I didn't.
Well, there you go.
But anymore, like if you watch YouTube, there's people out there, they show you how to survive a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, but who's going to sit there and watch? It's one thing to watch videos on YouTube than to actually do it.
Yeah, but first thing you always want to get is shelter. That's the key thing. You always want shelter. Have a way to block wind, sun, the elements.
Right.
Next thing is food and water. You got to have food and water to survive. So now you're trying to find a way to get your food and get water supply. That's like common basic stuff. They taught us this in like Cub Scouts.
Right. But
And then just having something that you can use.
if you've never practiced it,
Yeah.
having to do it in that situation and then say, I mean, it's going to be harder to make shelter. Say you literally go in there you have nothing. Say you jumped you parachuted out of a plane and you
got a
lost all
parachute.
your,
You have your parachute. That could be used as a canopy.
right.
It also can collect water.
It could. But say you lose all your gear for some reason. You're left with nothing.
You got something. You can make.
Our generation now, yeah, you watch some videos, but
I think I could do it. It doesn't look hard.
yeah.
I mean, it'd suck. Like if you don't have ways of starting fire, going back to the old ways and like twiddling and all that.
You and I are too old. We don't have to worry about this.
Yeah, I know.
Although we would have to worry about, I think the big thing is cyber attacks, obviously, because they're ongoing and affecting everything. That's our biggest threat. And, if all they have to do is take down our power grid, whether it be on a coast or even the Midwest, because take out the power grid in the Midwest, and guess who, you can't have the two coasts talk to each other. That will fuck our world up.
Yeah, it would, but I don't know. I've also lived without a lot of this stuff before.
But you've become accustomed to a lot
You
of
do
this
come
stuff.
accustomed, but if it's survive or die, you're going to find a way.
Yep, but unfortunately we live in suburbia, so every parent is going to have that same thing on their mind.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, and I think
at that point it's being prepared or coming together and supporting each other like we used to,
yeah,
being a village.
communities.
Yep.
I don't. That's how it should be, but I think that's not the mindset of people these days.
No, they want to be individuals and be helped by the government.
Yes, and then when the government's not there to help, they're going to take everything from you.
Or try
'cause
to.
they come in first, and then I mean, a lot of these people now, like they have nothing to offer. Like you've said, what are you going to bring to the table?
Yeah.
What are your skills? You know, if you have a community, you got some guy that has all the guns. Great, he's our security. You got somebody that, you know, whether they be a veterinarian or a medical doctor, somebody that knows something about, because that's going to be the main thing that kills people during that. If we're without power, is medical.
Yeah.
You get hurt, or you know, people that have diseases that need medicine, you're not going to be able to get that stuff. So that's going to be the big thing. Knowing somebody that's at least a vet tech or something like that in your community, and then you know, people that know how to garden and cook and stuff like that. And if you could
how to get water, treat it if you need to.
Yep, somebody who can butcher an animal.
Yeah.
I sure as hell can't. I don't know how to do that.
I mean, if it's fish, I can do it. I know how to fillet fish. But
I'd be fucked in that aspect. But
getting chickens, like we get eggs.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm seeing more and more people have chickens.
Yeah, I really want chickens.
Especially in the like suburbs.
Yeah.
More and more people.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. Depending on if you live in an HOA or not.
Right, exactly.
That's the thing. Like HOAs don't like it, but you can in Olathe. I've seen a couple places now in Olathe with chickens. I was like, man, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Oh, and fuck you, Jon Stewart. Kind of like that roast of Tom Brady where he was just randomly always being like, fuck you, Tom Brady. Fuck you, Jon Stewart. It's Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Cyber attacks will be weird.
Don't be lame. Just do it. We got to... Are you staying for the debate?
Maybe.
Yeah. So, let us know your thoughts on that. Any of that, honestly. The red flag law, federal level, the Surgeon General, and then obviously with Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Fuck you, Jon Stewart. And you, the U.S. General Surgeon.
And you know, people are putting that together and feeding him that stuff. And he is very...
He's good at reading a teleprompter. I'll give him that.
Right. But he is very anti-gun. Like, it... On that show or not, people tell him, like, he voices his opinion on other platforms, too. He is so anti-gun. It's insane.
But I'm pretty sure he's got security.
It's like, look, yes, there's a bunch of gun violence, but banning guns for the lawful-abiding citizens is not going to do anything. All these criminals in your cities, you have the most strictest gun control.
The funny thing is,
look,
they created it.
Yeah.
They created it, and they're bitching about it. Now they're trying to blame everyone else except for themselves. Look in the fucking mirror. You created the problem. Fix it.
Yeah.
You got a problem with how it is? Change the fucking government
problem
there.
with politics today. The left blames the right blames the left.
Conquer and divide and conquer.
Yeah, it sucks. It's
we need to come back to being a republic instead of a fucking democracy.
We need a president that's going to bring both sides together.
And that's going to be hard.
The problem is we're so divided now.
Yep. We need to go back and understand what the Constitution is and realize that we are a republic. We're not a democracy. And the shit that they're pulling right now, we should, like, it's going to be bad for when we retire.
Yeah.
So with Social Security, they're saying it'll be gone by 2035. All the money we put in.
Yeah. They've also been saying that for a long time, though.
Yeah, but it's scary to think. You know how many millions of people that's going to affect? And you think they're going to like that?
I saw something on the news last week or two where a lot of people that are currently on Social Security are getting calls and notices from Social Security saying, hey, we sent you too much money. You owe us thousands of dollars back. And I'm not talking about like, 5,000. There's people that, and this is like millions of people that this is affecting, that they're getting letters and calls from Social Security offices that say, hey, we overpaid you. You owe us $50,000. You owe us $75,000. And guess what? You have 30 days to pay us back.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Because of their error, you have to pay them back.
The crazy thing is, if you
It's
get
like, you
more
sent me
money
too much. I sent you all, because
I paid you all these years. Where's my interest and compound interest?
And the people are like, hey, we sent you everything that you required, and you came up with this number. Like, it's beyond their capabilities to figure out how much they're going to get. So they provided everything, and then this is what the checks they were sending get sent. And so, yeah, that's like, all right, cool. That's what we're going to live off of. And then, oh, wait, turns out we calculated that wrong. Our mistake. You owe us all that money back in 30 days.
Go screw yourself.
If you're living on Social Security, do you think you're going to have $50,000?
That's what most people are doing, though.
Yeah.
Like, you're living off Social Security. Hopefully, you've got a pension from where you worked and retired from.
When you're living on Social Security, most people are paycheck to paycheck. Like, they're waiting for that.
That, and they're like very budget. Because that's all your income you have at that point. Especially if you worked for a place and they don't have a retirement plan. Your Social Security is your retirement plan.
I saw that. I'm like, that is because of the government's fuck up.
The thing is, we need to hold the government accountable for what they're doing with our money. Like sending billions of dollars. That could go on right back into the Social Security because I'm sure that's where it's coming from. Or they're printing more money, which is causing more inflation. But we need to hold our government accountable for their actions. Is the way I look at it. That's what we're supposed to do as a republic.
Instead of sending money overseas to a war that doesn't involve us, maybe our infrastructure, like all these dams that are failing
because they're 200 years old.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
We got some stuff to fix here, guys, because not only does that have an effect on everything.
Yeah.
Like the people that live there, the people downstream, like
what's going to happen to us? We're going to get hit.
Guess what's not covered by your homeowner's insurance?
Yeah, floods. And they're causing it.
Yeah. Erosion, your house sinks into a sinkhole, all this stuff. I was watching, that one dam in Minnesota that failed. That house was sitting there.
Yeah.
That ain't going to be covered by your insurance.
Nope.
And guess who's not going to help out? The government.
Yeah.
So that person is screwed because we decide to send all this money overseas and cancel student debt and not fix our infrastructure.
Yeah. Like, I think someone said that the much money we sent over to Ukraine, you could have fixed Flint, Michigan's water problem like 100 and something times.
Right.
Like rebuilt it.
Right.
You could have built the wall for border control like 18 or 19 times. That's crazy. You could have gave every homeless veteran $5 million.
Yeah. Oh, not to mention what we talked about earlier when they were giving these people coming across the border a free ticket to wherever they want to, plus whatever money they were given.
Let's talk about.
All right, so you're going to give these
Hawaii
people money
and those
that
burned. You could have gave every family more than $550.
Yeah.
Like, we need to start holding our government accountable of what they're doing with our money. We're not responsible for the rest of the U.S. because my thing is like, okay, we're helping them out. Cool, humanitarian, whatever. What happens if something happens here? Are they going to help us out? Probably not. They're going to laugh and be like, oh, sorry, we don't have any money, even though we just sent you billions of dollars.
What happens if some other country that we supposedly back gets into a war with somebody else and they're asking for money from us?
Yeah.
So we're going to go send money and weapons to them and also Ukraine and then Israel. And then guess what? We're sending all our shit everywhere. Oh, guess who doesn't have? I mean, yeah, we still have stockpiles, but it's like we're sending all of our shit to these other countries. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, hold up. We got to protect ourselves,
Yeah,
too.
because obviously China, North Korea, and Russia are still a huge threat to us
Yep.
currently.
Border control is an issue. And then guess what? Now that we have all these anti-gun cities and states that you can't have anything, you just made it easier for them to come in. And you better hope your gangs are well loaded.
We'll just send Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert on the front line.
Yeah, here you go. Here's your gun control. Figure it out.
Yeah.
They don't.
That was our soapbox, our rants there for a little while.
Yeah. Sorry.
Really not
If you're still listening to us, you're awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so let us know your thoughts on any of that. If you do want to comment on the YouTube below, there's a comment section. If you're listening to audio only, go to the website boomstick-tactical.com and you can leave us a voice message on anything that you want to comment on the video that we talked about, or if you want to give us ideas for a podcast, or if you just have anything
You want to say?
leave a message. If you don't want to stare it, we won't.
Yep.
Just let us know. But yeah, boomstick-tactical.com. You'll see it at the top of the page above the current inventory tab. All you need is a microphone. It'll just ask you for your permission. Say yes and leave us a message. So I've noticed that because I have 2 other YouTube channels. Obviously, Shotgun Studio that does the gear reviews on this kind of stuff, and then the Rusted KC Moto for the motorcycle stuff. I have a feeling the Rusted KC Moto is going to surpass Shotgun Studio in subscribers here. So it's like trying to figure out which one to focus on, because obviously working a 9-to-5 job and then trying to do a podcast and 3 YouTube channels takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, probably.
It's like, which one? The motorcycle stuff is easier to
do the
produce.
motorcycle then.
Right.
And you can still talk about what you got.
Yeah.
The gear you're using.
I know. I wish you could just have everything, because it's called YouTube. I wish you could just have everything on your channel and it grow, but you can't because of the algorithms and stuff.
Yep.
You can't be YouTube. If you want to have a different, if you want to have different topics, you got to have a separate channel. It's so stupid.
It is.
I hate it. I don't know. But let us know any comments down below. This whiskey is good. The spice went away on the rocks, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you?
Very much. Calmed it down.
Well, we'll see what happens tonight. By the time this comes out, the debate will be over, and whatever happens, happens. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks, because we're taking 4th of July week off, because Chris is busy, apparently.
And we're celebrating our freedom.
Yeah. Go shoot some stuff. Just don't shoot guns in the air.
Yeah. And don't blow your hand off.
Exactly. Well, Chris, until next time.
Remember, this is a YouTube podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and tickle that bell. If you're listening on those other platforms, hit that follow button. And with that, everybody, have a good one.